Welcome to the AKC Breeder Education Series brought to you by the American Kennel Club. We'd like to begin this series by asking, are you ready to breed a litter? Are you ready to be a breeder? Breeding dogs is not a minor undertaking. Before launching into it, here are a lot of important things to consider from several angles. First, you need to think about how it will affect you directly. Raising a litter entails a significant impact on your life and that of anyone else in your household. Next, think about your responsibility for the dogs who would be born and your responsibility to their eventual owners whose homes and lives they'll become a part of. And finally, you need to think about your responsibility to the breed. Would this breeding benefit the breed? Would it move the breed forward? So we'll look at three important areas to consider before you venture into breeding dogs. The first area is simply, why breed? The only reason to breed dogs should be with an intention to preserve and improve the breed. That should be the only reason. You consider breeding only with the intent to bring into the world dogs of that breed who are of outstanding quality and are sound in body and mind. But how will you know that? Your assessment of that should be based on extensive knowledge of the breed and, when possible, with that confirmed by comparison with other dogs of the breed in formal dog events or competition, or maybe other proving grounds for breed quality. What's important is that breed experts other than yourself have the opportunity to weigh in to support your assessment of whether these dogs are worthy of breeding and continuing the breed. And beyond that, down deep, there's also something more fundamental, and that's just a love of dogs. Something about being with dogs that connects with you. And that translates more specifically to a passion for a particular breed. It's where it's that breed or that particular kind of dog that it's like you're almost magically drawn to it, that when you see that kind of dog, you have this strong feeling of how they appeal to you and how they're just right. Well-known breeder exhibitor Luke Eric shares this experience of being at his first dog show and how he first got into dogs, and I think it conveys some of that passion for dogs that we're talking about. He says, "I entered the Coliseum. I was mesmerized. I had no dogs at the time, and this arena full of dogs was heaven. I loved the dogs. I loved the excitement. I loved the competition. I loved it all. I soon immersed myself in the world of conformation. I read every book about any and all breeds I could get my hands on. I watched judging of any breed I could, and I asked questions of all the people who would talk with me about their dogs." That's what it's all about. So the next thing we're going to talk about is that if you're going to breed dogs, you need to learn all you can. Dave and Peggy Helming are wonderful breeders of top Newfoundlands, and they share this advice. For new breeders, it's important to start out slowly and spend endless hours studying the breed with the most knowledgeable people you can. So it's exactly that. You have to learn all you can from wherever you can. There's a lot of material out there about dogs, about general dog care, breeding, about the history of dog breeds, and on, as well as information about your specific breed. In rarer breeds, sometimes that's harder to find, and that's where the parent club for that breed will come in handy, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So you do your research before you breed. Seek out books and magazines about dogs, whether in bookstores, libraries. You can search online for used and out-of-print books about dogs. That can actually be a great source as well. When you're searching for information online, know to be careful to try to stick with authoritative sources as much as possible. And of course, akc.org is a good place to start. Something you should do early on is contact the National Parent Club for your breed. Contact information for that club will be on the breed's page on the AKC website. Do not skip this step. There is no more important resource for your breed than the National Parent Club. The parent clubs have tremendous information resources on all aspects of the breed, about the breed's history, its care and training, and importantly, what the health checks should be done for the breed before breeding. A crucial aspect of learning about the breed is to study the breed standard. Really study it, and do your best to really understand what it's describing. That's something that could take years. You could just continue to try to understand those nuances over decades if you're in dogs for that long. The standard and those nuances should become ingrained in your mind over the years as you continue to always be learning about your breed. Every experienced and top dog person who's been in dogs for a long time will confirm the fact that you never stop learning. In learning about dogs, it's vital to get to know other people involved in your breed, people who are experienced and knowledgeable. In fact, you'll find that it's wonderful to be around these people. I mean, it's what you'll want to do. How great is it to be able to talk for hours on end about what you love with other people who really get it? A good place to meet some of these people is if you're able to go to the breed's national specialty. And as you get to know some of these people, you'll tend to gravitate toward one or more of them who will turn out to be a mentor to you. A mentor should be someone with deep knowledge and years of experience in the breed. Having a good mentor is really integral to your continuing education about dogs. And the mentors may change over time, and you might have mentors who are helpful to you in specific areas of knowledge. And that's okay. It's not necessarily true that you'll just have one mentor. There may be several. Attend dog events. This is part of the area where you'll be able to confirm your dog's quality. Once you become familiar with the events and participate in them yourself with your dogs, it's an important aspect of your continuing education about the breed and what it can do. And in some respects, you might get more involved in performance events such as field work for sporting breeds. But whatever it is, be sure that you're involved and associating with other people who are interested in that breed. Again, get involved with dog clubs, with local competitions, go to the national specialty and get involved, perhaps join a committee. Just whatever you do, getting involved with the clubs and canine events is really important to your continuing education about dogs. Karen Stout-Carbona, a wonderful Borzoi breeder, has this excellent advice about mentors. She says, the surest way to learn is to find a reliable mentor in your chosen breed. Through mentoring, one bypasses costly, disappointing, and often heartbreaking mistakes. Read the standard. Memorize it. The knowledge is all there, but applying it to the living dog is difficult. Always remember to listen to your mentor. You'll learn to see the breed through the eyes of someone with years of experience, to whom the names in a pedigree are not just names, but dogs that the mentor has seen, has had her hands on, and knows the virtues and weak points of. You'll learn the intricacies of proper feeding, whelping, exercise, training, grooming, show handling, breeding. The list of what you'll gain is endless. Finally, we move on to the last and incredibly important aspect of preparing to be a breeder. You have to understand the commitment involved. This is what Gail Bonteque, a breeder of Scottish Deerhounds who has been very successful for decades, says about the commitment. Breeding is a combination of so many separate aspects. It's similar to building a house from the foundation to the roof. Breeding is an art form, an engineering project. It is labor and time intensive and an emotional and financial commitment. It is not something to enter into lightly or without adequate preparation. First of all, it's a huge commitment of time. For the first few weeks after a litter is born, ideally you'll be able to be with them or at least nearby almost constantly, because you'll need to watch over them to ensure everything is doing well, that no puppies are in danger of being crushed, and that they're all nursing properly, and so on. It's a time of very intensive care and watchfulness. It's a big financial commitment, from the cost of stud service to pre-breeding tests to even just the routine veterinary care for the dam and puppies, not to mention, God forbid, unforeseen medical situations that come up sometimes. You'll need to be sure to understand the costs that breeding can entail. And there's an emotional commitment too. You get attached to the puppies, and seeing them go to homes at age 10 to 12 weeks or so can be really heart-wrenching. It's really the hard, for many people, that's actually the hardest part of breeding, is having to say goodbye to some of the puppies, even though you know they're going to good homes. And of course, there's lots of work involved in keeping the whelping box and later the puppy pen clean and tidy. Especially with medium to larger breeds, once the puppies are 3 to 4 weeks old or so, and they're no longer being cleaned up after by their dams, that's a lot of scooping or soiled papers to deal with. You'll probably want to keep at least one puppy. For the rest, you have a responsibility to do all you can to screen the prospective homes and ensure that each puppy is going to the right situation where the owner, the household, the lifestyle, and the dog will all be right for each other. This can be really a difficult and somewhat stressful and time-consuming process, just working on finding the absolute right home for each one. Finally, and this part is actually the heart and soul of being a responsible breeder, know that you need to be there for the dog's whole life. You need to be there for those owners should they have questions or problems. You need to be willing to take that dog back into your home and your life if needed, even if it's years later. This lifelong commitment to the dogs you bring into the world and this continuing involvement with them, even if it's just, exchanging a card once or twice a year, it's a big responsibility, but it helps to know that it's also a continuing joy and it's deeply rewarding. Pembroke Welsh Corgi breeder Ann Bowes summed up wonderfully what it means to be a dedicated dog breeder. She says, "I doubt that any of us really knew what we were getting into when we started down this road. If we had been able to read a job description of a dedicated dog breeder, it might have read like this: position available for a goal-oriented, high-energy, disciplined individual with a passion for dogs and puppies who thrives in a challenging, fast-paced environment, must be able to work long hours. Requirements: thorough knowledge of the breed standard and the basics of genetics, strong back, strong stomach, thick skin, and a heart not easily broken. Rewards: the intense joy and satisfaction that comes from creating beautiful animals who give a lifetime of love and devotion to their owners. Thank you for watching our webinar. We hope you'll join us for the next one on breeding strategies and choosing a stud dog. This is Arliss Paddock, Senior Editor for the AKC Gazette magazine. For more information about breeding, please be sure to visit akc.org.